New life in the heavyweight division. That's what we've been asking for. That's what the fans have been clamoring for. And Shamil Gaziev is bursting on the scene undefeated, saying, I'm ready to take it to the next level. Well, he has a test in front of him. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, one of the best kickboxers to do it in the division and one of the most time-tested fighters to do it in the division. We're going to see how the heavyweight division shakes out this time around, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and welcoming me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Every now and then, the UFC, you know they're contracted with ESPN. They got to fill out like 40-plus events a year. Every now and then it feels like we're just throwing something in Saturday. You know what? We got stuff to do later tonight. Let's drop it like 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to get the early start time. Do you feel that this is a filler card, or is this where the magic is made? This is where the unknowns of today become the stars of tomorrow. Shout out to the sleepers. What you think, bro?
Derek, it might be what a lot of the casuals are calling a filler card, but what it means to me is we're filling pockets again, brother, back to back, week in and week out. You already know the deal, man. I'm excited for this card regardless. It's going to be fun.
That's it, and that's what we are looking for ultimately, folks. So as it stands right now, take a look at the scoreboard below. You see where we stand. It's a year-long competition, so the thing that matters the most, more than anything, is that we got some props, we got some parlays and some money line bets ready for you guys to place. If we win, you win, we all win, so just keep that in mind. But AJ, back to the task at hand. Let's jump straight to the TLDR, and let's jump into what some of these picks are looking like. So big screen, you love it every single time. UFC Vegas 87. We don't got a ton of consensus picks, but we still do. So like 3 of them, right? Take a look, folks. I'm not even going to say anything else on here. We're going to move straight on over to the next sheet. Take a screenshot. This is your opportunity. Here are the consensus picks. Vitor Petrino, Muhammad Mokaev, Umar Nurmagomodov, AJ, per usual, UFC Vegas 87 consensus picks. What is the theme behind them?
Consistency this week, Derek. Consistency wins most of these battles right here, and all these fighters we have as the consensus are sticking to their game plan and doing it very, very well.
And listen, I'm just going to say from the betting perspective, from just an MMA perspective, you could also come in here and say chalk, right? Chalkboard, favorites, heavy. Umar Nurmagomedov at open was like a minus 1,500 favorite in this matchup right here. So this is one of those cards, folks. Definitely keep that in mind. All right, now to the juice. Now to the stuff that you guys came here for, which is going to be the prop locks. This is an interesting card. When you have an interesting card, you need to provide value. If we want to provide value, we need to look at the places a lot of people aren't looking. So we got some overs, we got some unders, the whole 9. I like Matt Schnell versus Steve Erceg, first bout of the main card. I like over 1.5, minus 130. We're wrapping that into some parlays, and you know, hint, hint. We're going to talk about that in a second. AJ, what do you got for your prop lock?
I got the co-main event for this one, folks. We're going under 1.5 rounds and some finishers in this fight with Vitor Petrino and as well as Tyson Pedro. There's a chance. It's a weird one, but this one's going to be a very entertaining fight. I'm liking the under on this one.
I mean, listen, bro, you got 2 knockout artists right here. Somebody's got to go to bed. Hopefully they get it done early. But either way, those are your prop locks. So lock it in, cash it in, and thank us later once you got the dub. And of course, we have a parlay watch for you guys. So like I said, you see there's a lot of text, and that's like the first thing. It's like, yo, why is there so much text here? It's because we went hunting for overs. So for mine, Matt Schnell versus Steve Erceg. There we go. Sorry. Combine that with Christian Leroy Duncan and Claudio Ribeiro, and then you have over 1.5 rounds on both of them. That adds up to plus 230 when you parlay them together. That's cash right there, folks. We're going to loop that one in. We on a hot streak, 2-1 right now, over 500. We're looking to keep it rolling. AJ, you got another fun one. Talk to the people.
I'm rolling with the overs, folks, too, man. I got Nurmagomedov versus Almakhan. Sorry if I butchered the name, Basra, whatever, man. You got to be getting back to the UFC. We'll know the name eventually, so folks pay attention. But you combo that 1.5 over with Perez and Mokaev doing the same thing, man. Over 2.5 rounds. We're looking at plus money right here, plus 190. Both these fights are going to be very fun, but I expect both of them to go longer than go either to the distance or right over that over mark. It's going to be entertaining. Make sure you fill your pockets, folks.
You got 2 parlays right here at plus money, and if you just jacked them both together, I mean, you hitting it real big. Might as well 4-leg it right there. I'm just saying. But listen, this is your parlay watch in all serious right here. We took some time, dug into the film, dug into the notes, and found some value. So go ahead, drop to your local sports book if they got all of your parlays and all that good stuff up, ready to place bets on. Let's go ahead and let's run it. And with that being said, now we move on to the main course, which is...
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks, you know what we're here for. It's the main card per usual. We're breaking them down from the main event all the way to the opening bout. And before we do that, we got to give you the friendly reminder. If you have not subscribed yet, you absolutely should do so. Do it for us here, 830 plus strong at the Bloody Water Podcast Army. And every week, I don't know if you guys have noticed by now, it gets stronger and stronger. The numbers grow higher and higher, not just based off of just a time consensus right there of a time horizon, you know, things go up, but because the value is getting stronger, the product is getting better, and we could not have these changes made without you guys. So tell a friend to tell a friend. It's your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. AJ, brother, I don't think we got anything else to say. You ready to break down some fights, baby? Let's go ahead and let's run it. First bout of the night, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev, heavyweight contest right here. And surprisingly, I guess maybe unsurprisingly, the newcomer, Gaziev, he opens up as the favorite, minus 150. Now, you know what we do here, AJ. We take the opening odds, and then we take a look at the live odds. Hasn't swelled much, but he has swelled to a minus 160 favorite, plus 135 comeback for Rozenstruik. Let's talk about the matchup right here. When you look at the odds, you see the undefeated Gaziev, heavy puncher, straight shots, puts it on you, puts some pressure. New life in the heavyweight division. You'd love to see it. But AJ, is this a trap card? Is this like one of those trap games right here? Because Rozenstruik, how he hasn't had the greatest success in his last 8 fights, about like 5-3 in his last 8. What are you thinking? Or maybe 3-5 in his last 8, excuse me. But what are we thinking right here, man? Is this a trap game? Rozenstruik going to come in, he's going to upset the world because people forgot because he's not fighting the upper echelon anymore? Or is this just new life that's ready to take over? What do you think?
It has the stench of trap game, Derick, especially because of the way Rozenstruik's last fights have been going. Like you said, he's been faltering a little bit. We saw the kind of power he has against the Dawkins brothers, against one of my favorites, man, Chris Dawkins out there. So we know he has the power to shut people down. It's just all a matter it takes is if Gaziev is willing to put himself in those same positions and Rozenstruik can land the punches. Because after that, then we're looking good. If Rozenstruik can keep this fight on his feet, he's going to be doing well in this one. But Derick, I mean, what are the likelihood that it comes out and it kind of ends up like the Jelton Almeida match that Rozenstruik just had? I'm seeing a ground game attack right here out of Gaziev.
I got a little bit of a theory right here. I wanted to save it for a second, but let's jump straight into it, man. Listen, I really like this matchup, folks. I think this is an interesting matchup, but I also think it's one that's tailor-made to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, I did a little bit of research, and one of the fights that I looked back on to just kind of get a consensus comparison was Rozenstruik versus Junior Dos Santos. Heavy puncher. If he needed to grapple, he can grapple. Solid boxing and is willing to walk you down. Well, what happened, AJ? I don't know if you remember who won that fight, but Rozenstruik got the knockout in that fight, right? Why? Because this is a 5-round fight. That's the number one key right here. Shamil Gaziev in his last 10 has not gone past 3, and he's only gone 3 one time. Rozenstruik has gone 5 twice, 1-1 in those bouts, but more importantly, he's a slow starter. We all know this. So what's he aiming to do? In my estimation, Rozenstruik is going to start off slow. He's going to check any leg kicks that come his way, right? Any of those calf kicks, he's going to check them, and he's going to start throwing those calf kicks to start wearing out the boxing of Gaziev. Now, one thing we know about Gaziev is this dude comes on quick, he comes on fast, and he's putting a lot of oomph into all of these shots. So what my question is if Rozenstruik can survive 1 and 2, what does 3, 4, and 5 look like if they make it there? This is heavyweight, right? And that's the big question mark. So without giving away the whole game plan, because we still need something to talk about on this matchup right here, I think that we exploit the gas tank of Shamil Gaziev and we use UFC veteranship from Rozenstruik, very similar to the way that we just saw it a couple of weeks back. You remember the matchup that I'm talking about?
Not the top end of the heavyweight matchup.
Nah, main event, Jack Hermanson. There we go. Jack Hermanson over Joe Pyfer. UFC veteranship, cardio, 5 rounds. It's a different story. That's the way that I'm seeing this matchup play out. That's why I'm heavy on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But what do you have coming back on the end from Gaziev?
I like it, Derick. And when thinking about how this fight breaks down, yeah, if Rozenstruik can get on that bike, or not even necessarily get on the bike, just avoid the big blast, the big blitz that Gaziev is going to be putting on him, and avoid that pressure and make this a very technical match. I can see where you're coming from. The only thing, man, is heavyweights, and all it takes is one moment, one issue, and that's for either fighter. Jairzinho Rozenstruik or Gaziev right here, both of them can finish this one in a matter of instances. And with the way and the momentum that things seem to be playing out, I kind of like Gaziev right here, man. I see him putting a hurting on right at the beginning because he knows he's untested in those 4th and those 5th rounds. And if it does get there, I do think Rozenstruik is going to have the advantage right here. It's just a matter of whoever's going to be fighting their style on that night, whoever does it better that night.
Question. Why do you think the odds makers have the TKO prop for a Rozenstruik at plus 125 with the plus 175 comeback prop for Gaziev?
I just think it's because Rozenstruik is more of the technical, polished fighter. I mean, if you think of Rozenstruik in all his fights, I mean, he came from the kickboxing background. He's a champ there, and he's able to be flashy, be not necessarily unpredictable, but hit you with things that you're not seeing coming. For Gaziev, he's just a classic, just brawl you down, walk you down, and beat you up kind of guy. So I think that plays into it a little bit right there, Derek.
That's it. No, that's a fair assessment right there. So the last thing that I'll say is you look at the plus 275 submission prop for Gaziev, has a couple rear naked chokes in his last 10. I'm almost a fan on the Rozenstruik camp of saying, let Gaziev grapple early, because you grapple early and you're not able to finish the fight. This is nothing but Rozenstruik's in his favor, unless he gets submitted, of course, and then the fight's over. Then it doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave this final note here, and then we can wrap this one up. You're going from Martin Boudet, who, no disrespect, this dude he had a really good record, but in levels of heavyweight, it's a little bit of a different level to go from Martin Boudet to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, where Jairzinho Rozenstruik's losses are coming to Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades, Volkov, Almeida, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't respect the other side, but I'm saying that this is one of those where you got to compare strength of schedule. It's heavyweights, though. One shot is all it takes, as you mentioned. I like Rozenstruik. You're rocking with Gaziev. The only final question before we leave here is over and under 1.5 rounds, over or under?
Woo, if you're betting with me, folks, I like that under right here, but I can see how this fight plays out multiple ways. I'm like Gaziev in this fight, man. I think he's going to start off fast, start off strong, and get this fight over with before he gets a little tired.
I'm either going to be a millionaire after this fight, or I'm going to be dumb and I'm going to hold some accountability hour, but I'm taking the over 1.5 rounds, plus 160 over 1.5. Gotta love it right there. All right, folks, that is your main event. Cash it in, and let's move on to that co-main event. Vitor Petrino. He's making a name for himself in his young UFC career, I should say. And he's fighting a dude who almost feels like he's on that same kind of path, even though Pedro has been in the UFC like for way longer. He just had that kind of gap and all that. Now, he opens up as this crazy minus 295 favorite with the plus 240 comeback for Tyson Pedro. And again, he is swollen to minus 310 plus 250 comeback for Tyson Pedro. So for Pedro, hasn't really moved much, but for Petrino, we've jumped it up a little bit. Now, my question to you is this, man. We know Pedro can end the night with one shot. That's all it takes. But we know Petrino can do that as well. Do you think that the odds makers are seeing the value on Petrino in terms of making him such a large favorite because of the grappling? Is it as simple as that?
I think it is, Derek. I mean, when I was breaking down this fight and seeing who was the favorite and what the odds makers were thinking, that was the only thing that came to my mind is that Petrino has just a more well-rounded game. Yeah, they both can stand there and bang, but Petrino can go to those other levels, whereas we haven't seen Tyson Pedro be able to pull that out of his toolbox or as well as survive when he gets to those situations. I mean, even in the Bukauskas fight, when he's looking in a bad situation, right, when he's not controlling the fight, Tyson Pedro just not necessarily falters, but stumbles a little bit. And that's why I like Petrino in this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Petrino, he seems like the real deal. There's just one big problem in this matchup here that I'm seeing. I think Pedro has the speed advantage here, man. I think Pedro's way faster. So that's what gives me pause, because all it takes is that one shot. And seeing that he's discounted at such a large underdog makes me think that they imagine Petrino's getting this fight to the ground early and he's mitigating all of the stand-up from a Tyson Pedro. Because if you look at the takedown defense for Tyson Pedro, currently listed at 52%. So, I mean, he is stuffing half of the takedowns, that are coming his way, but Petrino's takedown average, or his, I guess I should say, accuracy, 70% thus far in his career. It's short, young UFC career. Let's dive into these numbers a little bit further. What do you think about this submission prop for Vitor Petrino? I'm trying to take a look at the last couple of losses for a Tyson Pedro, and you're seeing one submission. It was a straight arm bar by OSP, Ovin St. Preux. Aside from that, man, we don't see a lot of submission issues with Pedro, and last thing that you want is to try to go off of your back dual submission. Pedro gets on top and starts raining down elbows and those hammers. What do you think?
Yeah, Derek. I mean, the plus 275, especially for Petrino on this one, I do think that's the more likely outcome, unless they end up in a firefight. And then, plus 165 doesn't look bad either. But man, I think the easiest path to victory for Petrino in this one is going to be wear Tyson Pedro down a little bit, get him to the ground and submit him. But like you said, man, you're going up against a guy who has a submission basically named for himself in OSP. But is Petrino on that kind of level? Will he be able to get Tyson Pedro in those situations? That's a question that's going to have to be answered. But I think he can, Derek. And I think that's why the odds makers have that below like a plus 300 for that submission.
Interesting. Well, Petrino, of his, 4 losses in his last 10 fights, 3 of them have come in the third round or decision. Right. So TKO in the third round, and then the other one losses are via decision. So he's at least able to extend these fights a little bit longer. I just think that, man, this is the odds makers just showing a lot of love to Vitor Petrino, and these are the moments that you need to exploit. Again, who is going to be the bigger finisher? I mean, arguably, these guys are equal in their finishing capacities. Who is the more tenured veteran? It's Tyson Pedro. I don't think that they're giving him the respect that he deserves here, which is why I'm really interested in your thoughts on plus 550 TKO for Tyson Pedro. I'm not looking at too many other numbers here on Pedro. I am looking at that TKO prop, though, because if it hits, that's not going to be something that I think that you would wake up the next morning and be like, I had no clue that was coming. You'd be like, damn, why didn't I bet on that? So are we taking any juice as a hedge on the plus 550 TKO prop for Pedro, or are we just all in on Petrino?
Oh, no, absolutely hedging on Tyson Pedro, man. I love the striking of Tyson Pedro. And you said it earlier, the speed, I do agree with you. I think he's going to have the speed advantage on this one. Yeah. And all it takes is a nice step in jab, 1-2. And man, Tyson Pedro could be making us a fat payday on that plus 550 TKO.
That's it. You also have in that parlay, I believe, right? You have the Tyson Pedro, Petrino over 1.5 or under 1.5 rounds. It's minus 115 a pop for the last time that I checked. I'm not sure what it's at right now, but that means it's a coin flip. So folks, I mean, at the end of the day, let's bank on the TKO. You got to love it from either side or the submission. Either way, you could also bet AJ, right? If it's up, I don't know if it is, but you could also bet just in the distance right here. I'm sure that that's probably minus money, though. I would imagine that the odds makers are all over that one. So I like Vitor Petrino. AJ likes Vitor Petrino. The grappling is really going to be the edge right here, but don't be surprised to see a knockout from either camp. That is your light heavyweight co-main event, and let's move right on along to the next bout right here. Blast from the past here, AJ. I'll tell you what this is. This is Alex Perez pulling out of so many fights and having so many fights canceled in his, career. I think they say, listen, bro, if you're going to step up to the table, you're getting the rudest prospect that we have. Muhammad Mokaev. For real, you know what I mean? And then for Muhammad Mokaev, man, this is a dude right here who's trying to make a run for a title. Alex Perez, where does he fit in this division? You already had your title shot. The dude you fought for the title and lost, he ain't even in the division anymore. It's kind of just one of those weird spots right here when you're looking at Alex Perez, who at this point, man, he's like 18, 28. I think he's 30s, in his 30s. Let me get the actual number. My man is 31 years old versus the 23-year-old phenom Muhammad Mokaev. That's aside from the point. First thing that I look at when I take a look at anything related to this matchup is minus 110 submission prop for Muhammad Mokaev. Interesting. Alex Perez can grapple, bro. You know that, right? Like this dude can grapple. But I will say, I was watching back some tape, and I was seeing his fights against, Pantoja. That was bad. Pantoja just pressured him, put the backpack on him. Figueiredo, it was a nasty scramble, caught him with the guillotine. That one sucked. And then aside from that, man, you're not seeing him losing anything crazy. The record is, 7-3 in the last 10? The only problem is, hasn't fought a lot since 2020. So where are we looking at Alex Perez right here? Stepping in, TKO prop plus 1,000, submission prop plus 1,400, decision prop plus 1,600. This is smash spot Mokaev in the eyes of the odds makers. Any juice, any value on Alex Perez here?
Man, I think the only juice or only value I'm really seeing right here, Derek, is that plus 260 money line for Perez. Like, if he's going to get it done, he does have multiple ways. And like you said, I do like the grappling of Perez a little bit better. But in order to avoid what happened to him in the Pantoja fight with the pressure in the backpack, because I guarantee that's what Mokaev's going to try to replicate, is to be able to fight that very technical fight. So the other one, that plus 600 decision prop right there, and that's the only other one I see, but I like the plus 260. It provides a lot more juice for me and makes a lot more reasonable sense in my mind. I could see the decision happening, though. We'll see.
But realistically, right, I think we're all in on Mokaev right here, man. I think he takes the same approach that Alexandre Pantoja takes, and it's not even the backpack, just pressure, nonstop, relentless pressure, and take away any striking ability for Alex Perez right there. Literally wet blanket this man. Because I think that if you're Muhammad Mokaev, he has no problem lacing the legs, beating you up with some ground and pound, getting a TKO finish, or just beating you up until you expose your neck and choking you. I really think that he has no problem in the world doing that. Do you think he's looking to make some major, crazy, unconventional statement right here, or is this going to be bread and butter?
Nah, bread and butter all day long, Derek. And I think that's why the odds makers have his submission at -110, because that's the path he likes to take. Beat you up, lock those legs up, and then pump for the submission. Oh, maybe. We'll see. We'll see if he actually hunts down that +900 TKO with a ground and pound finish. I feel like this is one of those weeks where we're so banking on that submission that something crazy happens and it hits.
1.5 rounds, over and under.
Ooh, 1.5. I'm going over.
Minus money on both ends, bro. Another coin toss. -125 over, -105 for the under. I'm gonna say under on this one, AJ. I think Mokaev can get it done if he's looking to prove a point. If Alex Perez is looking to just sometimes you find yourself in a position where you're like, all right, I know I can't win, but I can grab a moral victory and not get finished. I think we could see that. We could find ourselves in a decision play right here. Then it might make a little sense for +215 decision prop for Mokaev. But again, I think the submission threat is too much, man. It's nonstop submissions. This dude got the arm triangle on Tim Elliott in the last one, came out of nowhere. Nobody was really expecting to see it that way. Smashed by Muhammad Mokaev. What else can you say? This is chalk. We like it. Respect to Alex Perez, but make the smart play. Muhammad Mokaev. All right, AJ. Umar Nurmagomedov versus who? All right, no disrespect. Bekzat Almakhan. Apologies. You said it much nicer earlier, AJ. I'm sure I butchered this horrendously, but the point is this, right? Why is this happening? Why do we have a -1500 favorite on this card? Why do I feel like this is a Bellator matchup right here? You know what I'm saying? This is Usman Nurmagomedov or whatever the case may be. The point is, you got an unknown dude in Almakhan coming in. This dude, if you look at his record, 17-1, looks very impressive. You look at the methodologies, knockouts all over the place, submissions. I love a 135-pounder that's just full of finishes right here. So they said, let's give you to Umar, even though you have all these credentials, he's still a -1500 favorite. What are we doing here? Do you just roll with the chalk? Is there a need to analyze this matchup? Like, what is your thoughts?
I think you roll with the chalk, Derek. I mean, even when doing research on Almakhan, I already butchered it again, Almakhan, he has a very similar style to Umar, man. So I see this being as one of those kind of fights where they test each other out a little bit, kind of break things down. And then once Umar feels the speed and feels the pressure and the power that is against him, I think he's just going to steamroll this cat. I mean, until we're proven otherwise. I mean, with a -1500 favorite, it's like death and taxes, you know?
Do you ever place anything on a -1500 favorite? This is a complete stay away for me. This is a no man's land. This is betting limbo right here. This is like cardinal rule number 1, stay away. Don't touch it. I mean, what is your thoughts on that?
Absolutely stay away from this one. It makes no sense to me at all. Not even hedging a bet on the blue side right here in Bazhat. Man, we're just going to keep saying it until we butcher it right. But either way, man, no, this is a complete stay away from me over here.
You know, I have heard this once upon a time, and they say, you ever get these crazy odds where there's an underdog who's just so massive? Sometimes out of principle, you just place the hedge, always just because, right? Because who knows? It could be one of those crazy nights. I do not feel confident in that one. No disrespect. If Almakhan can get the dub, I'm going to be eating my words, but this is one of those spots where, folks, you also have to acknowledge it's hard to find tape on these guys. You're good. If you're the UFC machine, you're not going to put one of your prized up-and-coming prospects trying to turn him into a real contender. You're not going to give him this matchup unless you're confident that he's going to get the job done, keep it rolling, because nobody else wants to fight the guy. So you're just keeping him active at this point. I'm taking all of the narratives, I'm pulling them all into one, and I'm saying for the tournament that we're doing here, AJ, Umar Nurmagomedov. Yeah, we're rolling in real life. I just stay away. That's all that I have on this matchup. You have anything else, AJ?
100% agree with you, Derek.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, let's move on to the next one right here because I do got some stuff to say. You got the dangerous one, Matt Schnell, and then you got Steve Erceg, Astro Boy right here, man. And this is the thing. This dude came onto the scene crazy. Steve Erceg, -340 favorite over Matt Schnell, which I cannot lie. That is a price I'm almost not willing to pay here, AJ, man. You know, it's like we need to talk about why, because you can't just say that statement and keep it pushing. But you have to understand, Matt Schnell is a very dangerous guy. You look at the last fight against Matheus Nicolau, he got caught. I don't think that you could look at that and just he got outclassed and outschooled. It was a tit-for-tat battle until he just got caught with that shot right above the ear right here and put him out. All right, that's fine. Now, the question is, does Steve Erceg have anything to put Matt Schnell in that same danger zone the way that assume a Derick G, for an example, or a Brandon Royval or something like that? Like, does he have that same kind of, not even power, but that same oomph to give him a little something to make him concerned? Or are we seeing a straight technical battle for 15 minutes? Because if we see that, I like Matt Schnell a little bit here. What do you think?
I think we're seeing the technical bout right here, Derek. And to be completely frank with you folks and truthful, I was going Erceg right before I actually submitted my picks for this one. I can see this fight happening a bunch of different ways. If Erceg is going to play the game where he's hitting there technical, he looks really good in that thing, and he does have a really good ground game to go and boot with it. And if he can stay composed, Erceg always looked calculated and calm in there. It looks really good for him. But the thing is, man, Matt Schnell is a wild man, so you have to have the power to put him away. You have to have a very precise combo that he doesn't see coming, and he gets caught and goes and takes a nap again. I don't see Erceg having that kind of power, having that kind of oomph, if you will, like you were saying, to be able to get it going, man. We've seen Matt Schnell just eat elbow after elbow after elbow and be standing there on wobbly legs and still be able to get the dub. You really got to put the dog down on this one.
That was kind of my thought process behind this. Is like the scary part about this is I like Steve Erceg. I'm on Steve Erceg for this matchup. However, I just think that this could end up in one of those, well, how do the judges see it? And then it comes to a decision. And then it's interpretation and any of that stuff, because I don't see from either side of the spectrum, aside from a submission threat, I don't see a real pop where it's like a knockout threat of like, oh, God. Like Alessandro Costa versus Erceg, you have to worry about the bombs being thrown at you. Who has the bombs in this one, AJ? Are there any bombs presented at all?
I think if anybody has him, Derek, it's Matt Schnell. And not necessarily one-touch power, but the kind of bomb where he hits you with something, you hit him back, and he didn't blink at all, and then hits you one more time. That kind of stuff breaks people down mentally, and that's where I think the game of Matt Schnell comes into play.
I want to believe you know what I mean? But when I look at the record and I see all like submission finishes from these guys, I'm like, I don't know if the bombs are there, bro. Even if we want them to be, they might not be there. But it doesn't matter because this is 125, and we know technical supremacy reign supreme. I mean, that was redundant, but you get the point. And let's have some credit. Steve Erceg does have one knockout. It's a knockout win, you know, against Paul Loga, right? So, you know, shout out, respect. I just think that, again, on the ground, kind of evens out. This is why I take a look at these numbers and I say massive favorite on the money line for Erceg. If you take a look at the props, this is how confident the odds makers are in a finish. Plus 195 TKO and plus 195 for the submission. Look at Matt Schnell, plus 950 for the submission. If we're talking about what their wheelhouse is in that submission, are we hedging plus 950 right there?
Absolutely, Derek. Absolutely. What is it? Four submissions or three submissions in Matt Schnell's last 10 are all by submission. It's the majority of his finishes right here. And yeah, absolutely hedging that plus 950 submission. If you're betting like me with Matt Schnell on this one, I can see this fight. Like I said, this is a toss up. There's multiple ways in which you can go in, but if you're betting on Matt Schnell, absolutely take that plus 950.
And I will say for Matt Schnell, it's all triangle chokes too. That seems to be the bread and butter. Steve Erceg, little wider, you know, repertoire, I guess you could say. You got guillotines, arm triangles, rear naked chokes, the whole entire nine. The big question, once again here, and I know what I'm betting on, but the over and under, 1.5. Over or under?
Ooh. I'm going to go the over on this one, Derek.
That's it. Well, you cashing in a prop lock right there, baby. I hope you tail in on that one. I'll just say this. In what world are we seeing the under? You know what I mean? These flyweights, who's getting knocked out? Sometimes you see these numbers placed and you're like, I don't understand. So you have to capitalize on these moments. Again, we're a real program right here. So I'm giving you my real raw thoughts. If we hit, we hit. If we don't, we'll come back and we'll apologize and we'll keep it pushing to the next one. But we don't run, we don't hide. And with that being said, we're on it. Not contentious pick right here. AJ got Matt Schnell. I like Steve Erceg right here. Those are your contentious picks right here. But with that being said, folks, that was your main card breakdown. You got to love it. And what's up next? You know what's up next. It's the sleeper section, baby. So let's talk about the unknowns of today and the stars.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up. All right, folks, again, you know what time it is. Now, we already broke down the main card, so now we need to talk to you about the prelim. So this is one of those early special programs, right? So you got a cup of coffee, you're doing your thing, you're still waking up, and you're just watching nonstop violence. That's what we're here to provide for you today. So AJ, I'm gonna let you get off first because you actually have you have a nice sleeper. I really enjoy this one, and we're gonna bring up the big screen. AJ, take it away. What do you got?
Woo, the sleeper this week, folks. Vinicius Oliveira versus Bernardo Sopaj. And Sopaj, if I messed the name up, my bad. But either way, this one's going to be a lot of fun because both of these guys have power. They're both very fast hands. And the thing is, excuse me, folks.
It's all right. He'll save it. He got it.
Caught it on the sleepers. Either way, folks. Absolutely monstrous attacks are going to be coming from these guys. Watch out for Oliveira. He brings the power. He's going to be coming in very, very fast. 27 combined finishes in both of these fighters' fights and only 3 decisions. This one's going to be entertaining. Don't blink on it.
That's right. I like Christian Leroy Duncan versus Claudio Ribeiro right here. Folks, I cheat. I'm sorry. You guys see it time and time again. I give you the one. These are sleepers. The masses don't know. But if you're a real MMA fan, you know these dudes have been making some noise here recently. So CLD right here. We know the story with my man. Let's take a look right here. You saw the knockout win over Dennis Tululin, right? My man Ribeiro is coming off of the knockout loss to Roman Kopylov. All that does is that tells me that he doesn't want to have the same fate twice. He's going to come in, going to probably try to get to the hips of CLD, take him down, and mitigate all of that. That means I'm expecting a highlight reel performance from CLD right here. Somebody's going to bed. I have a hard time seeing this one go to a decision. So with that being said, nonstop violence. You know the deal. Tune into this bout. Tune into the one AJ showed you. And then again, breakfast or violence for breakfast. There we go, folks. All right. With that being said, we made it to the prelims, AJ. This is going to be a short show. This was one of those chalky shows right here, which gives us a lot of opportunity to kind of break down what prelims that we have available. So, of course, I'm going to pull it up on ESPN this time. Normally, I do it on the UFC.com. Either way, we're going to bring up the big screen, and I want to pull up the featured prelim to start here, AJ. Normally, I just let you run it, and, we'll talk about which ones you like. But I'm interested in this matchup. Eric Anders and Jamie Pickett. We've come to a point here, AJ, and I'm sad that it's happened. But we're at the point of Eric Anders' career where we know we're approaching the end. We're getting really close to the finality of it, right? So when he has a matchup against Jamie Pickett, he's a minus 550 favorite. Why was I so unconfident about picking a prop, picking, an over and an under? I don't know where to go with this matchup from a betting perspective whatsoever. I know I like Anders to win, but there's not enough value at minus 550 to do anything with that. So what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I was actually looking at this matchup earlier too, Derek, and I was staying away from it because, one, like you said, I want Eric Anders to win, but Jamie Pickett is no slouch in this one, so there is plus money coming back on him, and he can get it done. But I really like the leg kicks of Anders, the speed he provides, and the way he handles his business in the octagon. He has grown from where we've seen him before, like 3 years ago, and now a massively different fighter, man. Your boy is really coming for violence. This is going to be a fun one.
I think it will be a fun one, man. And I think that Jamie Pickett is a big enough of a dog where you could do some of those overplays. You know what I mean? You could do some of those decision plays by Eric Anders, because Anders will get the finish if it's there, right? But he's not really one of those guys who's going to extend himself, put himself in too much risk to get that finish, especially at this point of his career. And Jamie Pickett, the unfortunate reality is that here, let's pull it up, man. Let's see what's up with Jamie Pickett. This is the unfortunate reality, man. It hasn't looked good. It hasn't. He got the win against the ugly man, right? Joe Holmes and Star Poli, welterweight that moved up to middleweight, right? But this whole UFC run has been rough, and I think that because he took that Bo Nickel fight and all that, they gave him a little extra shot. Lost to Josh Fremd, and now you get Eric Anders. I do not anticipate him being on the roster if he loses again to Eric Anders, but. Again, you look at the implied odds, and it's a rough spot. So with that being said, clear smash spot here for Eric Anders, but. Unless there's a really juicy prop, you're not touching this one, right?
No, not
what do you
at all,
think?
Derek.
Yeah, sorry, bro. What do you think just about cards like this when it's just chalk? Like I'm telling you, like this is really reminiscent. You don't get it in the UFC that often, but this is really reminiscent to me of a Bellator card where every favorite wins. You know what I mean? It's massive, heavy odds on every single one of them. What do you do with these cards?
I mean, if you're a fighter in this kind of card and you're sitting there and you're one of the underdogs, man, all this means is opportunity to make a big, massive move. But if you're a better in this one, man, this is one of those weeks where you just sit down, enjoy your popcorn. You might find some of those unders, those overs like we were talking about. So go put some money on those parlays. But other than that, this is just one of those fight cards that either we're just going to enjoy because we like the sport of fighting, or we're going to see a massive star be born out of what comes of this. Either way, I mean, I'm going to be happy on Saturday morning watching this.
Another word for the degenerates out there who can't watch a fight without placing a bet. It's going to be a rough weekend for you, but it's okay. That's why you got to love to learn about just the fight game in and of itself. But let's move on to the next bout right here, AJ. This is the bout for your educated MMA fan. This is the bout for people who actually train, who understand the sequences. Ayman Zahabi versus Javid Basharat, man. This is going to be a really fun one, and I want to ask you your opinion on this, but before that, this is one of those matchups, AJ, I don't know if you ever do this, but this is one where you break out the notebook and you start taking notes while you're watching the fight. Would you agree?
Absolutely, man. I'm actually kind of curious why this one is not being highlighted as much by the media.
I'll tell you exactly why, bro. It's because nobody wants to watch this type of matchup. This is going to be so technical in all of the best ways, but sometimes that technical prowess does not coincide with entertainment. You know what I mean? So I just think that this is going to be a battle of Basharat trying to get Zahabi to the floor. I think he's going to get him there a lot. I think Zahabi's going to get up a lot. Zahabi's takedown defense is madly underrated, man. Like madly underrated. His ability for get-ups. Dudes, Zahabi, where are we getting the name from, right? You know what the name from. This is Canadian greatness right here, bro. So all we're going to say here is that at the end of the day, even though it's going to be really fun and technical, look at the implied odds, man. Minus 1,000 for Javid Basharat, plus 600 comeback for Zahabi. I'm not saying that Zahabi can't win this fight, but I do think that's like a touch disrespectful. Like, have a little respect. Do you think that there's a play on Zahabi here, or do you think Basharat is going to steamroll?
I think Basharat's going to steamroll him, but I would not have put him at a minus or a plus 600 comeback for Zahabi right here. That is disrespectful. I do think it should be a little bit more like a 250, 300 comeback, but man, no, this is crazy.
There's another reason though. And the main reason here, brother, you're 36 years old at 135 pounds. I think it's clear at this point, 35 plus between 125 and 155 is cursed. Stay away. So I think that the odds makers are reading into that a little bit. Fair play. AJ, I didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this. But what's important to note is we have a couple people that said, hey, I'm here to save the day and get an opportunity. Meaning that we've had some fights fall out and we've had some dudes step in on like a week's notice and be like, let's fight. AJ Cunningham is one of those guys. So Ludovic Klein originally was actually supposed to fight. Oh, what's the name? I'm blanking on it. I got it right here. It is, Joel Alvarez. So this made me sad, man, because this is such a fantastic Spanish prospect who should have been fighting, had some visa issues. He said, I want to stay on the card. Bring in AJ Cunningham. Apparently AJ Cunningham, and I guess that's a play on words right there. I guess this guy is a training partner with Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell. Who knows? Maybe a favor was called. Maybe he said, I know a guy who could step in on short notice. He's game. He's ready to go. But the point is this. Lots to risk for Ludovic Klein right here. He is a minus 1,200 favorite. What are we doing here, man? Why not just cancel the bout and give him somebody who can progress his career? Because this is a lose-lose. He's fighting simply to get paid, which is important. These are jobs for these athletes right here. But again, what do we think about the matchup?
Sometimes you need a paycheck, and thankfully the homie AJ actually steps up, makes all of us proud. No, Derick, this is definitely a smash spot for Klein. I mean, it's hard to really see it any other way. The big thing is, though, this is another one of those opportune moments where if Cunningham really comes in here and is actually, able to find just a slight bit of position or a slight moment where he can take advantage, even if he doesn't get the win, it's a hell of a dub for him going forward into his UFC career.
Look at this, man. Came off of a knockout loss on the Contender Series, so now you're going to get a contract. That's what we're talking about in these opportunities. But again, the problem becomes, are you going to get knocked out, starched in this one because you're fighting a mad Ludovic Klein who wants a paycheck, bro? Because we know this is Mr. Highlight, Ludovic Klein, bro. Like, this is not a guy to play with. So with that being said, aside from the opening bout, this is going to be an interesting one between al-selwady and Radzhabov. We've seen him before. It's going to be a fun one. But this is a chalk card, man. We've covered the whole entire 9. We pretty much hit on every single bout. So with that being said, AJ, we make it to another outro. You got to love to see it, man. Bloody Water Podcast, the best program in the world, bro. I'm not just saying that, but I'm also saying that because we're starting to drop some of these clips, and you guys are interacting with this a ton. You guys are commenting, engaging with the post, and actually having like forums forum discussions in there. And that's what this entire thing is about. So this is not just a wagering program. This is not just a combat analysis program, but this is everything mixed into one. AJ, take us out of here, my friend.
Folks, Derick said it at the beginning of the show, man. We're growing consistently week in and week out. And if you've been here with us from the beginning, you know how rapid that growth is. And I got to thank you for it. But what you need to do is go share it with your friends. Share it with anybody that shows the slightest interest, whether it is fighting, whether it is making money, or whether it's just a good old-fashioned discussion on your opinions right here. It's all here right for you, folks. But the biggest thing, make sure you're subscribed, because we're going to keep winning you money week in and week out. Derick said it. The best show around is already right here, and you've already discovered it. But we just got to get the rest of the world on here. So if you're not subscribed, don't get left behind. Make sure you click that button.
That's it for us, folks. Catch us on Monday for the UFC Vegas 87 post show, and we'll catch you on the flip side. All right, peace.